incredible ending. So many narratives going into this. And then at the end, once again, giving us so many storylines. If we just start overall, Craig, well, we can't start overall, actually. We've got to start with the way that it ended.
Yeah, which was...
It just must have been devastating for the Croatian players who thought they'd forced extra time.
Yeah, and they all went running, as you would, and jumped in each other and thought that was they'd salvaged it. And VAR had a look at the offside, which it was offside. They had a little nick on the ball as the cross came in. Mm-hmm. They have technology to clean these things up now, so it was the correct call. I got to give both teams a lot of credit. A couple of things I got to give her a lot of credit for, or credit to. Roberto Martinez, but I'll get to him. Croatia, I never thought for a second, having watched them being totally outplayed by England, particularly in the second half, that they were going to give this multi-talented Portugal side a run for their money like they did. They're an aging team, Croatia. They're not a big squad, and they hung in there, and then during the second half, you could argue they were the better team.
Certainly.
Now, we're all sitting in that green room. Us, the Deportes boys, and I said, will he take Ronaldo off? And there was a unanimous consensus. No. We've been talking about it all year. Mm-hmm. Will he have the stomach to do it? And he did it. And I have to give Roberto Martinez a lot of credit. He made big changes today. And Ruben Neves came on for Ronaldo to shore up the midfield. But when he brought the 4 subs on, including Gonzalo Ramos, that was a brilliant header, which was the match winner. I think you could argue that's been the game of the tournament thus far.
I think certainly the ending, Kieran, because that you can't write that sort of script.
No, and this is what the World Cup's all about. You've got players on the pitch that can change games at any moment, and it's just such fine margins.
Yeah,
I really love that header as the winner. I think it was a great effort to get himself up there under pressure and managed to just get enough power on it. Incredible scenes, and like Craig says, to bring Ronaldo off was a big tough decision, and it's paid off. We were talking about Rafael Leao as well, and how hot and cold he can be, and he's shown up and put a kind of a desperate ball in, but it's paid off, and you got to give Portugal credit for getting it done.
I want to give credit to Croatia. I mean, this little country fighting like hell and we saw that in 2018 with the World Cup final, and since then I remember in '98, getting into the semi-final, giving so much a hard time to Portugal today. And Portugal, I put them the third favorite for me after France and Spain, and it was everything but easy for the Portuguese team. And with the guys, that I think was the game of the tournament so far, with the suspense that you have, and it's why we love sports.
Yes,
because it's not written.
Yeah,
and you cannot imagine an ending like that. I mean, I think I feel sympathy for the Croatian team right now in the dressing room. That must be awful, because you think you got it, and there was offside, so there's nothing to complain about. But there is a form of injustice in the faith of football, and that's what happened today.
The usual suspects will be out there wanting to say VAR's ruined the game because it ruined the big moment, but it's about getting these decisions correct, isn't it? Because it is a World Cup.
That's what they got it right today, VAR.
Yeah, and Croatia had it on a couple of occasions.
Yes,
but they got it right. Look, if Portugal had gone out, the big story would have been obviously the manager and Ronaldo, probably his last tournament. That's not happening. They roll on to Spain, which is going to be fantastic. But on the older legs in the Croatia side, 2 stalwarts were probably now departing, certainly the international stage. Ivan Perisic at 38 or whatever he is, has been a brilliant pro, but particularly Luka Modric at 40. Just how gutted he was at the end, his face when the camera panned to him and that goal was chopped off. He's given so much and he's achieved so much in his career. And to still go out there and do it was amazing. Again, I just didn't think... I thought we'd have been talking about a particularly comfortable 2 or 3-0 win. And if I'm being honest, I think the Croatians put so much into that game, and the further they go in this, the further they had gone in this tournament, I think it had gotten more difficult. I do think Portugal and Spain will be a much closer matchup. I think if the Croatians had gone in there, and if they'd won it, they deserved to go fine. But I think if they'd have gone into the Spain game off the back of their group and their knockout games, and the way the Spanish would control the game, I think that would have been a tough one for them.
Yeah.
But what I think we'll see, hopefully, is a boxing match that is nobody's taking a backward step with Spain and Portugal. And Portugal absolutely have the players to cause this Spanish side problems.
And it's
going to find.
I want, if you want, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. I just want to focus on this game overall, because the general consensus when you take a look at this Portuguese side, particularly the midfield, you can argue it's the best in this tournament.
Yes.
So why did we see it get overrun at times by this aging Croatia side?
Hard to explain, it's true that Neves and Vitinha are the best pair in the middle of the park in the world, and they show every games that they play for Paris Saint-Germain. And today they were dealing, but it's also what you do when you give the ball, you turn around, but sometimes you have to change the pace. You have to put the second gear and change something. And it's hard with Neto, Leao, even Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo to change the pace. When they play with Dembele and Barcola or Kvaratskhelia, they find the change of pace at the second gear.
Right.
It's why they're so important to create the action, to prepare the action, but the finishing is not the same with Portugal. And that's where maybe they have a lack of cleverness, I would say, because not lack of qualities. It's impossible with the talent that they have. But they have sometimes they have to make the run, they have to change positioning, and they don't really do that. They're more stuck in their position, and it's why maybe they don't finish the action.
I'll tell you why. Luis Enrique has instilled a mentality into PSG that most managers talk about. Defending starts at the front. And Dembele has touched on it in his interview and said, if we don't run for PSG, we don't play. Mm-hmm. And that goes back to getting rid of the Messis, the Mbappes and the Neymar. And it's brought them success. They don't defend from the front, Portugal.
Right.
Because Ronaldo, it's a token gesture. Rafael Leao, it's a token gesture. And Pedro Neto, I suppose you could put him in that bracket. So they don't press from the front. They don't get back in and help the midfield. So when they become under a bit of pressure in the second half, they're getting overloaded, but they're not really dragging those guys back in to help. And even when they come back in and help, it's kind of just a body there. It's not anybody closing the ball down. And so you start to get stretched because you have a couple of players. It only takes a couple of players in the front line and not to come back in and pull the weight. And you're screwed in the middle of the park.
And I know you want to talk to it about a little bit later, but with Cucurella and Pedro Porro in the next game, they will have to do the job. Otherwise, they're going to be in danger.
Let's talk about the big question. Did Portugal win this game because Cristiano Ronaldo was on the bench?
No, I don't think so. I actually think that when he went off, Portugal felt like they lost that little bit of belief that something special can happen and they can get it over the line. That being said, we did see a good delivery from Rafael Leao and a moment of magic that separated the game. But I actually thought Ronaldo was effective today. He got involved. He wasn't missing like we saw in the first game. He huffed and puffed today.
He scored a great goal. Was this allowed? But what a control
Exactly.
he did. Yeah.
Beautiful bring down and finish. So I think he was unfortunate to be brought off. And if he was in that position to make that header from that cross, I think we all say that he's capable of that as well.
What? Wait a minute. Cristiano Ronaldo was man of the match.
Huh?
Cristiano Ronaldo was FIFA's man of the match.
FIFA's? Yeah. Johnny's been on the phone, is he?
Oh, wow.
Well, listen, I'm not going to decry him because he wasn't bad, but he certainly wasn't man of the match. And anyway, let's forget.
Well, it's hard to name a man of the match in that game.
Well,
I don't see any.
There you go.
Well, anyway, he scored a great goal. Look, the finish that was offside was sublime.
Yeah.
But he was a bit of a passenger as the game went on. And as for taking him off, it was something I didn't think, and a lot of us didn't think Roberto Martinez would do. So I give him a lot of credit for that. He's made a statement, so I'll take you off. And it was the right thing to do because he had all these front players on, including Gonzalo Ramos.
Yeah, that sub was made earlier. It wasn't a like for like.
No, it wasn't. He brought four attacking-ish players on all at once. So he's one remaining sub, and it was the right thing to do. It was take Ronaldo off for Ruben Neves because they were light in the middle of the park. So they were trying to get back in the game, but they were trying as well to make sure they didn't lose it at the same time completely. And so that was the right thing to do. And do you know what? I hope Ronaldo is appreciative, and he seemed to be when he was running down the touchline to celebrate with Gonzalo Ramos, that it's about keeping Portugal in the tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
It's not about taking him off or him off or him off. It's about doing whatever you need to do to keep your team in the tournament. If I keep them in the tournament by taking you off, you're going to play more. Because he's going to be back at the side, isn't he? Let's be honest about it. He will lead the line against Spain. So I think, certainly in this moment, when they were celebrating, he realised that this decision from Roberto Martinez was the right one at the right
Do you think so? Do you think he thinks that?
Well, he probably thinks he would have been heading it in like Gonzalo Ramos. But at the end of the day, when a manager makes substitutions and it comes off and you're in the next round and you've turned the game around and you've won it, there is nowhere to go. And
the coach is right.
And he can knock on the door and say, like, don't be doing that. Hey, don't be.
What did I tell you?
If we're losing to Spain, by the way, if we're losing to Spain, don't think you'll be doing that again. And Roberto Martinez has to be strong. This is not about one player. It's about a very, very talented Portuguese side who could go all the way. But they're only going to go all the way with big decisions from the manager and making sure the players know that he's the guy in charge and he picks the team, he picks the tactics, and when he makes a big call, it's for the right reasons.
But I think also Portugal, it will take a lot of hope from this because it can't always be Ronaldo that the country relies on.
Right, but do they take a lot of hope from this game, or do they take worry from how they were up against a Croatian side that I think a lot of people said they're not going to be super competitive in this tournament? So what side of the fence are we on here?
Yeah,
the fact that they came back, or the fact they were outplayed for periods in this game?
I think just how brilliant England are. I think that's what we take away.
Well, we know that.
I think
that is the big takeaway. Look what we've done to Croatia.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's absolutely not true.
Cristiano Ronaldo scored his first goal in the knockout stages. It was from the penalty spot. Was it a penalty?
That's a debate. Because I think...
Well, what do you think?
I would have given a penalty because the guy reaches with his two arms. The
two arms are not all the way around.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it's
if you go on a normal pace, I would say of the game, it's really light. But it's true when you go on slow motion, you see the grabbing. So it got worse.
The slow motion though is
no, it doesn't help.
Slow motion, but did Balogun, which we'll get to later. Look, all we want to see, Frank, is consistency.
Yeah, if next time it happens,
so you would say no pen?
Well, I'd like to see more replays, but to me, look, if we're saying any kind of holding in the box is a penalty, if a player and Vega did throw himself down, is a penalty, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If every single decision of a similar nature is awarded as a penalty.
My problem is why a player, a defender, would try to grab another player, a forward player, in that situation.
But Frank, as a defender, you know full well that when you're in the heat of the moment and a player gets a run on you, it's a natural instinct for you to want to stop.
Yeah, especially when you play for Arsenal and you do on set pieces.
Frank used to drag players down.
That's Frank the by the way, not me.
I mean, I'll be honest. I wanted to rugby tackle him in the green room earlier. When he was running about, the game was on, he was running about shouting, I thought, I'm going to tackle this guy.
In today's game, it's a penalty. The game has evolved a lot. Since Frank played, I mean that was happening. That was happening every week at Stamford Bridge. And he was taking your nose off at the same time.
The Croatians go out in one of the cruelest manners, given that they thought they'd forced extra time.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, like, going back in your careers, is there one that kind of sticks in your throat still that you remember? That you kind of thought you were there or thought you were certainly going to push it further.
Yeah, but again, it's why I like VAR. There is no contest about that. The fact that it was offside, so therefore it's only normal and obvious that the ref said that.
But have you experienced anything like that in your? Well, no. I won the World Cup, Dan. I won everything. I did not have this heartbreak.
VAR didn't exist. So
no, I understand that, but there must be games like without a refereeing decision.
You're talking international football?
I'm just talking in general.
Well, actually, I don't know if Frank's thing. I got one that involves a colleague of ours who's coming out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
When Celtic played Liverpool in the UEFA Cup, and we were beating Liverpool 2-1. And it had been a fraught, tense game in front of a packed Celtic Park, and McManaman picked the ball up in injury time, and he ran 70 yards and scored, which he says is the best goal of his career. And it kind of just flattens you that you've done so much work.
Yeah.
And that someday it's either a mistake or a bit of brilliance. And yeah, it does sort of deflate you a little bit. But then again, we had a second leg to go to Anfield and put it right. The Croatians don't. That's the problem they have. In a knockout game, there isn't tomorrow or next week. It's done and dusted.
And for someone like Modric, there isn't another.
It's over. It's over.
That's it. What about you, Kieran? What have you experienced?
I think if I could think of any game, it would be we played against AC Milan and we were 4-0 down in the first leg of the. I think it was the knockout stages of the Champions League, and then we took them back to the Emirates, and we were 3-0 up. with about 20 minutes to go. And I think Robin van Persie got put through in the last minute, and just tried to dink the keeper. He was having an unbelievable season, but he just couldn't put it away. And I think that was probably the most.
Yeah. Did you play in the second leg?
Yeah.
Right. I was just.
Yeah.
Well, there's another one actually.
It's fine.
Scotland were through against in the
Is that 96?
the European Championships in '96. I was playing in the game at Villa Park against Switzerland, and we were beating them 1-0. McCoy scored, and we were through. And we were getting this message we were through, and then we're getting another message we were out, and then another message we were through. And then Patrick Kluivert scored for Holland at Wembley when England beat them 4-1. And that Kluivert goal late on, which is only a consolation for the Dutch, sent us out.
Right. Wow.
So we were getting conflicting messages in the last 15 minutes to get back or get up the field. And it was nothing to do with the game that we were actually playing. It was all coming from Wembley.
You know, while we were talking, I was thinking about Paraguay and the 98 games where we had the golden goal, which is awful.
Yeah, that's true.
Laurent Blanc scored.
Yeah.
Game over. And against Italy, the final, Trezeguet scored. Game over.
Yeah.
And he didn't last that golden goal rule. I don't know why, because that's a killer.
Yeah.
That's really a killer. It's good for France. Good for me. Thank you very much. Bye bye. But really, imagine you concede a goal.
And that's it.
Game over.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
You feel for Paraguay and you feel for Italy. You have no way you can go back into the game because that's the rule, and that's crazy.
Bring back golden goal, I say.
No.